So I love this time of the afternoon because I get to bring on my friends to share something good in the midst of all of this craziness that's going on around us. And so today we have, he's probably one of the most good guys I've ever met, man. He's cool. He's different. Please welcome my dear friend, Rob Vaka. Rob, it's your chance to tell us something good. And I know I could shut up and you could go.
I don't know what to think. You said, I think you called me most good and different. I'm not 100% sure how to interpret that, but I'm going to take it as a hug.
Oh, big time. Big, you know that. I mean,
I know, I'm teasing.
I know. You are definitely one of those people that stands out in a crowd. You are unique in a way that's warm and fuzzy and real, and tremendous respect for who you are and what you do and your story. So take it away, my friend.
Well, I feel the same way. You and I have known each other for a bit, and I think you need uplifters. You need people who are not just positive thinkers and not just spin masters, but you need people who care, who want to do the right thing, who want to help. And I think there's a lot of people out there like that. I just don't think the spotlight gets put on them enough. And I think right now in the world we're in, and frankly, in the world we've been in, and frankly, in the world we will be in, and the world that was 100 years ago, it all starts with you. And spreading the good word and being a beacon of light starts with you working on yourself first. So what I've always gravitated toward is, how can I sweep my own doorstep first? How can I get my stuff as close to right as possible? How can I invest in me, not by having stuff and things and material goods, but how can I feed myself the right message? How can I develop something that I stand for and ultimately can be a compass? And then therefore, when adversity strikes, you know what? I'm not blindsided. I'm not hit upside the head with a 2x4, and I don't need somebody else to tell me the 7 steps I need to take to be a good person.
You are so good at this stuff. I mean, you are clearly the center of a lot of good philanthropy. I know you've been on stage and you've raised a ton of money. Real quickly, if you could tell this audience, which is really gaining every single day, who you are, what you've been through. I obviously know your story. You shared it on Confessions when we were doing that, but just share a quick update, because your journey was not a straight line.
Yeah, and no journey is, right. I like to say that your journey looks like a heart wave. If you've ever seen an EKG, right, that's you're up, you're down, you're up, you're down. There is no hockey stick journey where everything just trends up. So I'm a New Jersey kid. I grew up in Central Jersey. I was born in North Jersey, in the shadow of New York City, in a place called Bayonne. I grew up in Monmouth County, New Jersey, in Middletown. I moved to Atlanta about 22 years ago, just after I moved here. And I played college football along the way. I played sports growing up. I think that sports and football in particular taught me all of the key lessons about life that I still deploy today: discipline, coachability, teamwork, overcoming adversity, respecting others, diversity, all those key ingredients that go into a muffin, right? That go into a tasty muffin. I learned through sports and football. And so I played football at a Division III school in Ohio called Wittenberg. I had a great experience there. I, as I said, moved to Atlanta when I was about 30. I have worked for the largest companies in the world. I started out with Merrill Lynch and then Mobil Oil, so gigantic companies, and kind of learned to navigate through the politics and the craziness of a giant company, and became an entrepreneur really at an early 30s kind of point in my life when I moved to Atlanta. and started getting into helping small businesses grow, which was a lot more fun for me. But in 1999, I was diagnosed with a serious form of cancer called non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. I had lost my voice. This charade went on for a while as I saw different doctors who misdiagnosed me. Shout out to advocating for your own health. And ultimately found out that I had this grapefruit-sized mass or tumor in my chest, went through 4 months of chemotherapy, went through 35 days of radiation. And ultimately, by the grace of God, I got a call from the doctor's nurse around Thanksgiving of 1999. And they told me, hey, we think it's a miracle. This tumor disappeared fully. We thought that it might shrink to like a walnut-sized sort of thing and be benign at that point if we won the battle, because you had a 50-50 chance at making it. So here I was with this miracle that God brought to me. Here I was feeling so many emotions, and I had gone through life pursuing success, which is, how do I climb the ladder? How do I get more? How do I win more? How do I make more money? How do I get more stuff? How do I get more people to like me? How do I have more influence? And this moment in my life was a big crossroads, because it was a wake-up call for me that while the climb and economic success and social success might be somewhat important, it wasn't the genesis of life. It wasn't the meaning of life, and that there was more to it. And it was really about significance, impact, gratitude, helping other people get where they want to go, and being part of this fabric of people in the fine print who are doing the right thing, little by little, helping the marathon of life grow and helping other people get where they wanted to go. So bring us to today, right? I've been blessed. I'm now north of 50. I have 2 children who are spectacular. Alexis is 17 and a rising senior. Kyle's 14 and a rising freshman. Angie and I have been married 18 years. And my goal is to do 3 things every day: have an attitude of gratitude, give more than I get, and build people up and not tear them down. And if I can use that compass, life is very easy, because there's clarity. And once you have clarity, you can run the marathon. Without clarity, without governing principles, you run around like an ant. And when you hear loud voices, you run to the loud voice. Then the next loud voice calls, you run to that voice, and you really don't have direction. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. And it's been an interesting journey.
It reminds me every time we get together for, whether in person or virtually, how special you are. I mean, the way you just communicated that seemed so easy, felt like it rolled right out of you. Yet I think a lot of people are struggling with the State of the Union. They're struggling with, all of the race-related issues. They're struggling with income. They're struggling with the virus and being sick. And so, to your point, it is a marathon. Nobody ever promised you that it would be, the straight line. It would be easy. And you just kind of said, "Wow, I had cancer and I beat it." So your method of delivering message is just incredible. I admire it every single time with poise and everything like that. So I put this show together specifically so that people can latch on to something good, because it's so easy to get caught up in being a sports guy, which obviously we have football in common. Momentum is a cruel mistress, man, because, momentum, you're going great. You feel like you're invincible. Boom, something happens, you go down. Who do you look to get fed? What do you do for direction? What do you do? Because, even as strong as your message was, it's crazy out there.
It is crazy out there. And I don't want to misconstrue my message to say that life is simple, it's easy. Right now, this is no big deal to me. It is a big deal. I think that, I had a small group Bible study this morning with men I really love and respect and trust and can be transparent and open and candid with. And we were talking about the last 90 days. And the last 90 days was, in my opinion, we woke up in March and we were told, get ready, you got to run a marathon. Now, I know you're not ready. Most of you didn't prepare. You're not trained, but you're going to have to run a marathon. And that marathon looks like nothing you've ever seen before. You got to stay in your house. You might lose your job. You might get sick. You might not be able to find toilet paper. You might not be able to communicate with other people. If you're a social creature like you and I are, you may struggle. So we just got running that marathon, and the finish line seems in view. And I think people were like, wow, the finish line's right up there. I got a little more to go. I can do it. And then what happened in Minneapolis happened, and it kind of feels like it's time to get your sneakers back on and run another marathon back to back. And a lot of people, I think, are struggling. They're in pain. They're confused. They're conflicted. Again, I would say, getting back to what we talked about a couple minutes ago, there's no better time to plant a tree if you didn't do it 10 years ago than today. So I would encourage everybody, look, trust yourself. Trust yourself. Believe in yourself. Do some work on yourself. If you need to reevaluate and reprioritize the top values and elements in your life that you stand for, do the exercise, put in the work, take the time, go deep with yourself. No one else is going to do it for you. So do that. Put on paper what you stand for. Put on paper, what are the roles in life that are most important to me? What are the 3 or 4 roles that are most important to me? What do I want to do to be better in those roles so that I can be a full human being? What do I want to do? What do I stand for? Do I have an attitude of gratitude? Do I even care about that? Do I want to help other people? Do I have the capability to do that? Do I want to stay silent and behind the scenes, help other people and build other people up? Or do I want to have a mouthpiece and be out in front? Don't let somebody else tell you what to do. Don't let the internet and Facebook or Twitter or Instagram tell you who you are. They don't know who you are. You know who you are. Reach deep, get yourself on paper, and start getting ready for the next adversity, because I got news for you. More
There's
adversity
another one coming. Yep.
It's always coming.
I agree. So you mentioned all the things you learned from football, and that's a tremendous area, for me to concentrate on. Mark, my son, just joined the company, and he's bringing those disciplines, as you said, from football to the business world. So talk to me about some of the specific examples of where you can point to what you learned in football, if you can, and transfer those to business, because I find that such a fascinating, great part of life. And traditionally, I love working with people who have been in sports before, because they get it. They get it. You mentioned it earlier. Work. Put in the work. It's not going to happen sitting on the couch eating potatoes. It's just not going to happen. So is there any specific aha moment in your business career where you went, I got that from football?
There's probably 3. I like dealing with 3s. I think you and I have talked about this in the past.
I love the power
instead of sharing like 12 things or one thing. The first thing is that I try to teach my 14-year-old son, and he's getting it because he's really, really working. He is an aspiring football player. He's been playing youth football for 5 years. He's a rising freshman. He's a talented kid, but more so than his talent, he is committed to excellence. He's committed to putting in the work. He and I have talked many times that Friday night is not the time to do the work. Friday night high school football. Sunday for NFL players is not the time to do the work.
No.
Being great on Sunday or Friday night, or if you're a college football player on Saturday, that is a result of what happens in March, April, May, June, July, and August. That's a result of what's happening when no one's watching. That's a result of being in a pandemic where you're shut down, not being able to move freely, and getting your butt out in the street and running sprints, getting your butt on the floor and doing push-ups, passing up 27 hours in a row of NBA 2K on Xbox in favor of working on and studying the plays. So the number one thing I would say, the number one lesson is preparation is the mother of success. It is not luck. It's not by mistake. Take any great athlete. Take Larry Fitzgerald. Take Grady Jarrett. These guys don't go out on Sunday and they show up and they're great. They've gone through 10,000 plus hours of training, as Malcolm Gladwell's book would tell you, to become an expert, a domain expert in what you're doing. So the first thing is it's the work. It's the preparation. It's the working on yourself. Work on yourself. Don't worry about other people. And that's one of the things I learned. The second thing is you cannot get too high or too low. Like right at this moment, I'm not, the stock market, which was down almost 30% at one point, is now back to where it was at the beginning of the year.
Oh, mine's up.
Right.
It's crazy.
And so the point is, when it got down, I didn't get too low. And now that it's up, I'm not getting too high, right? When the Falcons, I live here in Atlanta, I work with probably 35 NFL players right now. And so I have hats. I have about 16 hats. I would change my hat on a different day. I care about a lot of guys. But the Falcons in the Super Bowl, right? I remember letting myself get too up while I was in that stadium in Houston when the Falcons were winning 28-3.
Wow.
I remember getting really up, and then I remember feeling really down. That's not a good way to go through life. That's a great example of not to get too high, because if you get too high, guess what? You're going to get too low. So it's a marathon. You have to have a marathon mentality. You have to believe. 3 months ago, for those that believed that the pandemic would ultimately acquiesce and they actually could go to a restaurant at some point, they're there. We're here. We're at that point. But for those that had a short-term sprint mentality and were lost in that moment and didn't see the long-term view, they really struggled. So the second is this marathon mentality that life, just like football, is 4 quarters. It's 4 seasons. You're going to go through the highs and euphoria of spring and beautiful flowers and sunshine, and you're also going to go through the gray doldrum and the chill of winter. So that's the second thing, right? That's really, really, really critical. And the third thing is that I've just learned that it takes a village. You cannot win big on your own. So if you think you can win big on your own, you're mistaken. I am who I am because of a lot of people. I know who I know, and I have the relationships I have because of a lot of reciprocation on the part of a lot of other people. So I know that it's about the village. It's about the village you keep. It's about who you associate yourself with. And just like a football team has to come together to make a special season, the Dolphins were the only undefeated team of all time, right? Those guys still meet on an annual basis. That was a special village. It takes a special village in life to move the ball forward.
I am speechless because in less than 20 minutes, you just sprayed so many nuggets. Like I usually do a recap that allows me to sort of give a tease as to what's in each episode. I'm spinning from all of the great stuff you put out there. I can tell you this, that is something super good, is that I'm proud to be part of your village, man. You are one tremendous human being, one of the biggest hearts I know, and I totally thank you for spending time. I want my audience to reach out to you. Anything that you're working on that you want to share with people, they'll be contacting you. But thank you for sharing something good, because you are the preacher, my man.
Thanks for having me, man. We're co-villagers.
Yes, sir, man. Be good, man. I'll be in touch.
Cheers.